Welcome to today's video. About 4,500 years ago, a wonder of the world was built in Egypt. Today, this magnificent structure still astounds humanity with its immense size. It is none other than the Great Pyramid of Giza, standing at a height of 147 meters. This is one of the tallest structures in the world for over 4,000 years. This pyramid was built using estimated 6 million tons of stone blocks. The tallest structure in the world today, the Burj Khalifa, weighs only 500,000 tons. People still cannot explain how the ancient Egyptians built this structure. Back then, there were no cranes, bulldozers, or any modern technology in the world. Even the wheel had not been invented at that time. Moreover, enduring 4,500 years of scorching summers, storms, torrential rains, or extreme weather events, this wonder still stands strong. There is no other ancient structure of such monumental size that still exists today. So how did the ancient Egyptians do it? Let's explore the mysteries of the pyramids in today's video. Going back in time, let's together explore the events that occurred and how the ancient Egyptians built these gigantic pyramids. It is estimated that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2560 BC by Pharaoh Khufu. As we know, the ancient Egyptian kings were called pharaohs. We do not have much information about this particular pharaoh, only knowing that he was the second king to rule in the 4th dynasty of ancient Egypt. There is still debate about his reign, as some historians estimate that he ruled for about 23 years, while others suggest it was 34 years or even more than 60 years. The Great Pyramid of Giza is located on the west bank of the Nile River, and it is not the only pyramid there. There are two other pyramids built nearby. Among these three pyramids, the tallest one is the Great Pyramid of Giza, also known as the Pyramid of Khufu. Smaller than it is the Pyramid of Khafre, which is also the second largest pyramid in Egypt. It is believed that Khafre, Khufu's son, built this pyramid. The third and smallest one is the Pyramid of Menkaure, built by Khafre's son. But these are not all that remains from ancient Egypt. Besides the pyramids, there are also giant sphinx statues along with some tombs and smaller pyramids. It has been recorded that a total of 118 pyramids with various shapes and sizes have been discovered in Egypt. Many of them have been eroded by weather, and nowadays, very few pyramids remain intact. Perhaps the best preserved pyramids are these three, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza. The ancient Egyptians built these massive structures because these pyramids served as the tombs of the pharaohs. The ancient Egyptians believed in the afterlife. They believed that life did not end when a person died, as the soul would descend to the underworld where they would be judged by the gods. Those who lived righteous lives would become immortal in the afterlife. Therefore, to prepare for the journey to the afterlife, the pharaohs constructed their tombs. A large amount of food, treasures, jewelry, belongings, and clothing would be buried alongside the pharaohs in the pyramids so that they could use them in the afterlife. After the body was mummified, it would be sealed in a coffin made of wood or stone. There are two pieces of evidence supporting the mummification practice. First, inscriptions found on some pyramids and coffins mention this mummification practice. Second, most pyramids in Egypt and Sudan were used as tombs. However, there is no specific evidence to prove that the Great Pyramid of Giza was the tomb of a pharaoh, so various hypotheses have been proposed. When archaeologists entered the pyramid, they found three items called the Dixon relics, including a ball, a hook, and some pieces of cedar wood, along with an empty coffin. Scientists believe that this coffin belonged to a pharaoh, but the treasures around it had been looted before archaeologists discovered the site. However, some people propose a different opinion, suggesting that the Great Pyramid was actually a power plant. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Those who believe this argue that the ancient Egyptians had advanced technology and had learned how to harness electricity. Evidence for this includes depictions found on ancient artwork carved on walls, showing what they interpret as ancient Egyptians manufacturing light bulbs. However, it is unclear why this advanced technology would have disappeared later. Conspiracy theories often lack real evidence and can sometimes be highly illogical. If light bulbs existed in ancient Egypt, why haven't we found any evidence of them? In reality, the artwork on those walls only illustrates a mythological story from Egypt. In addition, there is another hypothesis that suggests the pyramids were used as granaries to store crops after harvest. This hypothesis was proposed by American politician Ben Carson in 1998. According to his personal theory, the pyramids were built by Joseph, the father of Jesus. In a speech, he stated, "My own personal theory is that Joseph, the father of Jesus, built the pyramids to store grain." On the other hand, perhaps the reason conspiracy theories arise is simply to satisfy the religious beliefs of politicians. However, regardless of these theories, today there is something very clear and universally acknowledged by historians. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built as a tomb for the pharaohs. It is believed that the larger the tomb, the more treasures and provisions it contained, ensuring a better afterlife for the pharaohs. Now, let's delve into the most perplexing question: how were these pyramids constructed? This is the most mysterious aspect of the pyramids. How did they build a structure standing 147 meters tall? How did they lift massive stone blocks weighing from 2.5 tons to 80 tons for construction? Each stone block was intricately and uniformly cut, yet they lacked mass-cutting tools at the time. How did they stack these stone blocks without the presence of wheels? How did they achieve such a monumental construction within a span of just 20 years? First, let's debunk some misconceptions commonly associated with pyramid construction in films. Images portray slaves being forced to build the pyramids. They depict these poor slaves being relentlessly whipped and mistreated while toiling away for hours on end. Movies have led people to believe that it was the slaves who built the pyramids. Even the Greek historian Herodotus from the 5th century BC was among the first to suggest that slaves built the pyramids. However, the reality may not be so. The workforce constructing the pyramids had to be skilled laborers. Naturally, for such a grand and precise construction, it required skilled workers, and of course, slaves could not meet this requirement. Furthermore, they were not starving or abused. Instead, they were provided with abundant food, even given enough to eat healthily, more prosperous than the ordinary people of ancient Egypt at that time. Now they lived in cities near the construction site. Many other forces also supported them throughout the construction process, such as farmers who helped build during their spare time when not working in the fields. The citizens of the kingdom all joined hands in unity to build this structure. They were very loyal to Pharaoh. Approximately 20,000 to 30,000 workers participated in the construction process. They worked 10 hours a day. To build this Great Giza Pyramid, about 5.5 million tons of limestone, 8,000 tons of granite, and 500,000 tons of mortar were used. Most of these materials originated from neighboring areas, primarily brought from the southern region of Egypt, about 800 kilometers from the construction site. So how did they cut these stone blocks? They mainly used copper tools. Harder stones like granite were broken using tools made from dolerite stone. They employed some extremely unique quarrying methods, such as finding cracks or fissures in the stone and then inserting water-soaked wooden wedges into these cracks. The wedges would expand when soaked, causing the stone to fracture. In addition, people also wondered about how the ancient Egyptians transported these massive stone blocks. At that time, there were no wheeled vehicles used to push the stones, and there were no means with wheels to easily load and transport the stones to the construction site. A plausible hypothesis is that they crafted floating rafts on the river to move the stone blocks from the quarries to the construction site. Specifically, they tied buoyant logs around the stone blocks, allowing them to float like a raft. After the stones were brought to the pyramid, they stacked them using sledges and pulled them along wet, smooth ground with ropes. This discovery was made in 2014 when scientists found a wall painting in the tomb of Jehuti-Hotep, built around 1900 BCE. The painting depicts 170 people using ropes to pull a colossal statue placed on a sled. Upon closer observation of the painting, one can see a man pouring water onto the sand in front of the statue. Initially, archaeologists believed this was part of a traditional ritual, forcing water to be poured in front of the sled. However, in the experiments conducted by physicist Daniel Bohm and his colleagues, they discovered that if there is a certain amount of water in the sand, such as 2 to 5%, it reduces the friction between the sand and the object being pulled, making it easier to pull the object on wet sand. Next, let's explore how the ancient Egyptians stacked these massive stone blocks without heavy machinery. Nowadays, people often use systems of pulleys to hoist the stone blocks, but at that time, wheels did not yet exist. Only rotary tools were used for pottery making. In fact, the ancient Egyptians built a ramp system to construct the pyramids. In 2015, a group of British and French archaeologists discovered a 4,500-year-old ramp segment in a quarry. Scholars believe that the Egyptians constructed a straight ramp from the ground to the top of the pyramid to move the stone blocks from the ground up the ramp. They installed additional wooden post systems on either side of the ramp and then used ropes wrapped around the posts to pull the stones up. Physicist Joseph West proposed this principle in 2014. According to his theory, after completing one layer of the pyramid, the workers would create a new incline, and to ensure the slope was not too steep, they would extend the ramp, thereby reducing the slope of the inclines. Another hypothesis suggests that they may have used levers to stack the stone blocks on top of each other. They would stand at a higher level, using a large wooden beam across a pillar and lever the stone blocks up. Scholars believe that a similar system called the shaduf existed in Egypt for many millennia. The shaduf was a mechanism that used a lever system to lift water from the Nile River to irrigate the fields of the Egyptians. While this sounds intriguing, there is a contradiction regarding the construction timeline. We know that the pyramids were completed in about 20 years. If 20 people were transporting each stone in this manner, then placing one stone every 3 minutes, the workers of that time could not have worked that quickly. Therefore, the hypothesis of 20,000 workers completing the work in 20 years is entirely implausible. This is why the construction of the pyramids remains a mystery to this day. While all the above hypotheses seem reasonable, we cannot entirely explain precisely what happened. The lower layers of the stones were built without mortar, and as they went higher, they would apply mortar. This increased the stability of the structure. This is why the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood firm despite numerous earthquakes over thousands of years. In addition, there is a mystery related to this type of mortar. Although modern scientists have identified the chemical composition of the mortar used, they cannot replicate it. The final step of the construction process is the outer layer of the pyramid. This layer is made of ultra-fine white limestone, so when sunlight hits these pyramids, they reflect brilliant light for thousands of years. The outer layers of the Khufu and Menkaure pyramids have been eroded, but the Khafre pyramid still has a layer of limestone covering its top. Indeed, the precision in the design of the pyramids is quite surprising. The fact that they were aligned so precisely with the cardinal directions, north, east, south, and west, within a margin of error of only 1/15 of a degree is remarkable. During the time of their construction, there were no compasses or modern technologies like GPS available to aid in this alignment. Researchers have proposed various hypotheses to explain how the ancient Egyptians achieved such high levels of accuracy. The most common hypothesis among ancient Egyptians is that they relied on the vernal equinox. At the time of the vernal equinox, when the Earth's axis is tilted in a way that day and night are of equal length, shadows cast by objects on the ground point directly east and west. This method would result in the deviation of the pyramid's orientation matching the deviation of the shadow during the equinox. The second hypothesis suggests that the Egyptians may have used star constellations to design the pyramids. In 1989, Robert Bauval, an author and passionate Egyptologist, proposed the Orion correlation theory. He claimed that the three pyramids at Giza were not built randomly but were arranged in alignment similar to the three stars of Orion's belt. He also suggested that the ancient Egyptians had knowledge of astronomy, as they observed and studied the stars at night, enabling them to understand how to harvest various crops at specific times of the year. Additionally, historians also believe that the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids based on the fringe theory. This theory suggests that the three pyramids were not planned and constructed simultaneously. In 1999, astronomers examined this theory, and during their research, they discovered that the pyramids were not aligned in a straight line, similar to the stars in the Orion belt. However, the constellation had also shifted slightly over the millennia. These stars were not aligned in the same position as we see them now. Yes, humans always strive to uncover the essence of phenomena, even when they are not tangible. In the absence of specific evidence, we create our own hypotheses, and when we find any clues, we cling to them to prove what we believe to be true. Some people believe that extraterrestrials built the pyramids because they think humans could not have accomplished such a feat. Such hypotheses go against the principles of scientific thinking, as they offer vague answers without finding precise solutions. What's important is that we acknowledge the known facts and recognize what we don't know so that future generations of archaeologists and historians can research and discover complete explanations for the mysteries of the pyramids in Egypt. You've just watched a video exploring the mysteries of the ancient Egyptian pyramids that still lack definitive answers. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos. Thank you.